Ladies and gentlemen, we have officially made it. This is the final mock draft of the 2025 season. I updated my first 2025 mock draft all the way the day after the 2024 draft class. It has been a long process, but we are finally here at our last mock draft. This is going to be more of a predictive one. This is more what I think will happen, not what I would do. So I want to get that out of the way really quick. This is a predictive mock draft, but thank you so much to all of you guys that have joined. We are starting 2026 content starting this week. We will be doing my way too early 2026 mock draft, so I'm super excited to get into that one with you guys. Leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. Be sure to check out the Patreon page linked below. You'll get my 2025 draft guide, but my 2026 one will be going up relatively soon. There's not a lot of players on there, mostly just quarterbacks, but I'm excited to get that out to you guys. And I got a very special announcement coming on draft night, a new series that I'm really excited to start here. But let's go ahead and get into this. The Tennessee Titans are on the clock, number 1 overall. I'm not going to spend too much time on the first 3 picks because I think we know which order and which players are going to be. But the Titans are going to take Cam Ward out of Miami. I think the nail in the coffin was kind of sealed when he went on, I believe it was IG Live or maybe it was Twitch, talking about Calvin Ridley and all of the Titans' skill positions and how much he loved them. I think he's a Tennessee Titan. I think this is the right pick. They need a quarterback. Cam Ward gives them some real explosiveness in the offense with his arm talent, his ability to be calm under pressure, escape pressure, evade, make plays with his legs. Really good quarterback that I think will be a first rounder in most drafts. So Tennessee gets him at number 1. At number 2, the Cleveland Browns. You could go with Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, but I think they'll take Travis Hunter. They've got needs at both corner and receiver. It seems like Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns brass believe that Travis Hunter will be more of a wide receiver for them. And when your wide receiver 1 is Jerry Jeudy, I definitely think you can go and upgrade that spot. So I like Travis Hunter a ton. He's my number 1 player in the entire draft class. And I think he changes not just one side of the ball, but he changes your entire team. They need a number 2 corner opposite of Denzel Ward. Martin Emerson didn't have the greatest of years. I think Travis Hunter can be that. I think he can play both sides of the ball at the NFL level seamlessly. So I'm going to have them go with Travis Hunter at number 2. At number 3, I'm going to go with Abdul Carter. I think that the Giants take BPA. I think they go best player available here. It's just Abdul Carter for me. He's my number 2 player in the draft class. You can't teach the explosiveness, the raw power, the bend, the different traits that he has. And when you factor in that he's only been playing edge rusher for 1 season, I think it makes a lot of sense. Maybe they look to move Kayvon Thibodeau later in the draft. Maybe you get a 3rd round pick for him. You upgrade the pass rush. I think this is the move they're going to make, and maybe they could trade up later to go get a quarterback. They pick relatively high in the second. I don't think they're going to take a quarterback here at 3. I think those will be the first 3 picks, and the draft really starts at 4. Truthfully, I could see the Patriots going about 8 different ways here. I could see them trading down. I could see them taking Will Campbell. I could see them taking Armand Mimbu. I could see them taking Ashton Genty. I could see them taking Mason Graham, Tet McMillan. This is going to be an interesting one because, like I said, I think Will Campbell will be the betting favorite, and I think it makes a lot of sense for them. But I think there's a real chance that they pass on Will Campbell because of the measurables. Mike Vrabel's a defensive guy. They love high-character individuals. They love to get these types of players in the locker room. If I am a betting man, I really feel like Jalen Walker is really in play for New England at 4. Number 1, they brought him in for a workout, which I don't pay too much attention to that, but when you factor in that, on top of the fact that it seems like multiple people are predicting that Jalen Walker goes in the top 6 of this draft, if it's not going to be the Patriots, I don't think Jacksonville or Vegas is going to take him. So I'm going to go a little off the board. Remember, this is not what I would do. This is more of a prediction. I think there's a real opportunity here that Jalen Walker goes. And I think it makes sense given the rest of their team. This is a guy that can really wreak havoc up front for you. If you want him to be that designated pass rusher, I think this is the right situation for him to fall into. So I have a weird feeling. This is just one of those weird gut feelings. This could be one of the big shockers, but I think there's a real chance New England goes Jalen Walker. So he'll be my pick at 4. At pick 5 here, again, could see this going multiple ways. Over the last few days, though, there seems to be a lot of buzz on Ashton Jeanty going to Jacksonville. I haven't really been moved by Travis Etienne. I like Tank Bigsby as that number 2. But I am going to go with Ashton Jeanty at number 5. I don't think he makes it on the board to pick 6. I don't really see there being a trade down here. I think Ashton Jeanty makes a lot of sense for what the new head coach there, Liam Cohen, wants to do. He opens up their offense. He's a great receiver, and it just takes some pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. So I'm going to go with Jeanty, and now I think the draft is really going to be interesting at 6 because I think that the Raiders would have taken Ashton Jeanty. I don't really think they're going to go Mason Graham. I'm just not really getting the vibe that he's a Raider. I am going to go with Armand Membu. I think based on what we're hearing, the Raiders absolutely love Armand Membu. He is a guy that they have brought in. They absolutely love his game. They haven't extended Colton Miller, which is really interesting to me. I could see them moving Armand Membu to left tackle in the future, but they also kind of have a need at right tackle. I think they have to build through the trenches, continue to protect Geno Smith. And I think Membu is the guy to do that. So I'm going to go with Armand Membu at 6. Shore up the offensive line a little bit for this Vegas team and take a guy with one of the highest ceilings in this entire draft class. He's athletic. He can pass protect. He's an awesome run blocker as well. A guy that tested phenomenally at the combine, 6'3", 332 pounds. There's a lot to love about Membu. I'm going to take him at 6, which I think really hurts the Jets. Now, I think the Jets could go a couple of ways here. I could see them trading down in this spot. Mason Graham is on the board. I could really see there being a team, whether that's San Francisco, whether that's, I don't know, Miami even, that wants to move up. I think the Jets are going to stick and pick, though. I'm going to go with Tyler Warren. They love Tyler Warren. It seems like he is the exact type of football player that Aaron Glenn wants to bring in. He can block, he can catch, he can do a lot of things, but he opens up this offense. He's another pass catcher for Justin Fields, but he's also going to be an extension of the run game, whether you want to play him in Wildcat, whether you want to play him as a blocker in line at a fullback position. I think there's a number of different ways that you can utilize Tyler Warren in this offense that is going to be really appealing to a bunch of teams. So I think the Jets would trade down in this spot if Tyler Warren and Membu were off the board. And this exercise, Warren is still on the board, and that's the move I'm going to make. I'm going to go with Tyler Warren at 7 to the Jets. The Panthers are here at 8. This is where I'm going to have the first trade down. I do definitely believe that they could go Mason Graham, but I like the moves they've made on the interior. I think they would rather go with an edge rusher. And to me, if Walker's not on the board, I like Mike Green. I just don't think Mike Green is going to go this high. I've heard that they really like Tetro McMillan. I can see that. But with Mason Graham and Will Campbell being on the board, I am going to have a trade down, and that's going to be with the San Francisco 49ers. I'm going to have them give up 11, 75, and 138 to move up to pick 8 to go and get Mason Graham. Mason Graham, to me, is the exact type of player this team needs. Their defensive front has not been very good this year. It does not look great on paper, I should say. They have lost quite a bit. They lost Hargrave. They lost Armstead in recent years. This team really needs some juice up front, and I think Mason Graham is the right player for this. He's exactly the type of guy that Robert Saleh absolutely would love to get in there. He can play in a bunch of spots. He can rush the passer. He's a good run stuffer. I get it. I get the athletic concern, the limitations that he might have because he had 32-inch arms. But he's a really explosive athlete that has been disruptive on one of the best teams in the country over the past 3 seasons. He has been an impactful player. I'm not overthinking it. I think the Niners know what they're doing, and I'm going to go with Mason Graham at pick 8. At pick 9 here, I don't think the board could have fallen much better for the New Orleans Saints, who I believe will go with Will Campbell. Campbell can play guard, he can play tackle for you, and with Ryan Ramczyk retiring, I think this gives you some versatility up front on your offensive line, which I think the Saints are desperately looking for. They're another team that I really could see moving back into the first round later to go get a quarterback. Jackson Dart feels like a guy that New Orleans would absolutely love, though I don't think he goes as high as 9. So I'm going to have them go Will Campbell, sure up the offensive line. In my dream scenario, I'm playing Will Campbell at left tackle. I'm moving Talise Fuaga back to right tackle, which is where he played at Oregon State and was absolutely phenomenal. I think this gives you security on that offensive line. So I'm going to go with Will Campbell at pick 9. At pick 10, really interesting one here. One that I didn't expect to make, but there definitely seems to be some more buzz around this one. Mykel Williams is a guy that's really starting to jump up draft boards. I don't love the way the board fell for Chicago. I really don't. They could go pass rusher. I don't think Mike Green with his off the field issues is really a guy they're going to look at. I don't think they're in the receiving market. I think it's too early to go safety. I don't really know who's trading up in this situation either. Like maybe you could get a team like Cincinnati wanting to move up to go get a pass rusher, but I don't really think that's going to be the case. So I'm going to stick and pick here. And I'm going to go with Mykel Williams out of Georgia. There was a bunch of articles by a lot of premier people, McShay, Matt Miller over at ESPN. They were talking about Mykel Williams is going to go a lot higher than people are expecting, and I'm inclined to believe that. I think Mykel Williams is exactly what NFL teams are looking for. He's got the athletic juice. He's really long. He could be a high-floor run defender right out the gate. And I think this, again, Chicago, I don't think is going to be done looking to improve this. They brought in Dayo Odenpo. He's not that great. I know they paid him a lot, but he is, I think Mykel Williams is in play, gives them some more power, toughness on that defensive line. So I'm going to go Mykel Williams to round out the top 10 here. But I do think there's going to be some more madness and shakeup here. At 11, we got the Carolina Panthers. One guy that they've been linked to really early on in the process that I still believe is in play for them is going to be Texas A&M edge rusher Shamar Stewart. That's going to be my pick. They've made some moves along the defensive line. You obviously got Jadeveon Clowney. You've obviously brought in, who is the Vikings? Patrick Jones, I believe was his name. I'm blanking on it. They brought in some pieces off the edge, but they need some more explosiveness on that defensive line, and Shamar Stewart is the right guy for the job. Absolute freak athlete at 6'5", 281. He ran a 4.59, 84 and 3/4 inch arms. He was a combine freak. This is a guy that, yes, he only had 2 sacks and 39 pressures. He was able to get after the quarterback, 12.4% win rate. He is a decent run defender as well. Somebody is going to take him in the top 15 of this draft. I think Carolina is a team that is going to swing for the fences here. I think he does make sense for what Carolina wants to do defensively. I think he's landing with a great defensive coordinator in Evero. So I'm going to take him at pick 11. At pick 12 here, I'm going to have a trade up. The Denver Broncos have been rumored to really want to be moving up in this class. So that's what I'm going to have them do. I'm going to have the Dallas Cowboys trade down in this draft with the Denver Broncos. Denver is going to give up their second rounder at 51. I think they can also bring back pick 174 in this deal. We'll force this trade through. Denver is on the clock. I'm trying to get into the mind of Sean Payton. Where do I think he goes with this? I think receivers in play here. You obviously got Matthew Golden. You got Tetairoa McMillan. I don't really think a receiver is going to go in the top 15. Maybe one at 15. But I don't really think that's the move. I think running back could be in play here. There's a lot of buzz around Omarion Hampton potentially going really high in this draft. I think he would make sense to Denver. I really do. I'm not going to make that pick, though. I think they move up for Colston Loveland. The NFL seems to be really high on Colston Loveland. And I know they brought in Evan Ingram, and people are like, oh, they don't need to trade up for a tight. I kind of think they do. Loveland is a guy that is a way better blocker than Evan Ingram, and he just gives you more upside. Ingram has battled some injuries. Hands have been a concern for him, and he's more a wide receiver than a tight end anyways. Loveland is a guy that can play in the slot. He can play in line, and he's one of the more versatile chess pieces in this class. I think they want to jump a team like Indianapolis, who would take him if he's on the board there at 14. So for this exercise, I'm going to go Colston Loveland. I think he makes a lot of sense for what this Denver Broncos offense wants to be, and it's another weapon for Bo Nix. At pick 13, it's an easy one for me. I'm going to go Kelvin Banks out of Texas. This is a team that lost Teron Armstead to retirement. They are going to need to find a way to replace his production. And so I'm going to do it here with Kelvin Banks. He can play tackle for you. opposite of Patrick Paul, which I think will be a great situation, but I also think he can kick inside and play guard. He's a phenomenal athlete, has been a really good wide zone blocker for Texas at 6'5", 315, 81 run grade, 89.8 pass blocking grade this past season for the Longhorns. He's a phenomenal player. He is. I think he's being undervalued. I think he'll go in the top 15. This is, I think if he slips past here, Indy would take him at 14, but I am going to take Kelvin Banks at pick 13, which leaves the Colts in a really interesting spot because I think they could be a trade down spot. Maybe there's a team that wants to move up for an edge rusher here, whether that be, I don't know, Green Bay potentially, I think could look to move up in this class. Maybe a team like the Rams or the Ravens. I don't love the way the board fell as a Colts fan. I really don't. Jahad Campbell is the guy that I would take here. But I think with his torn labrum, he might slip a little bit farther than people are expecting. So here at pick 14, I'm going to go with the first corner off the board, and that's going to be Will Johnson from Michigan. I still think he is the best corner in this draft class, not named Travis Hunter. He's got everything you want in a corner except maybe speed, but he plays so much off coverage. I think he's going to be in a really good spot. You pair Will Johnson with Kenny Moore and Charvarius Ward, and then you got Jalen Jones and Sam Womack as depth pieces. This secondary looks like one of the best in the league right away. I think with the way the board fell, Will Johnson would be who the Colts have in mind. At 15, the Atlanta Falcons are on the clock. I think you see a trade up here. Somebody is looking at Tetairoa McMillan slipping down the board, and they look at the teams that are about to be picking. The Cowboys could take a receiver. Tampa could be a sleeper receiver team. Seattle, Arizona. Somebody's going to move up, and to me, that team's going to be the LA Chargers. The Chargers are sitting at pick 22. I think they give up pick 22, pick 86, and 181 to move up to 15 to go and grab their guy, which is going to be Tetairoa McMillan, one of the most slept-on players in the class, still in my opinion. I just don't understand why so many people are down on him. He does so many things well at the receiver position. I think he's a better route runner than he gets credit for. He's better after the catch than he gets credit for. He's so good at high-pointing the football, winning the 50-50 balls. I think he's a guy that Harbaugh is absolutely going to love. He's a perfect complement to Ladd McConkey. He is that physical boundary type of receiver that I don't think this team has on its roster. And with the receivers run that I think you could see here, I think they jump on this early. They're going to go get Tetairoa McMillan at pick 15. At pick 16, I could see this also being a potential trade down spot. Maybe a team coming up for an edge rusher. And I didn't do this in my notes originally, but I think I might change this up a little bit. This is an interesting spot. Jahdae Barron is who I had in mind. I really struggle with this pick, though. I see Jahdae going to Arizona more and more. And I'm going to be honest, I don't really love it. And here's why. Garrett Williams was one of the more underrated slot corners in football last year, and I think Barron profiles best in that nickel sort of role. So unless you feel good about playing Garrett Williams on the boundary, I don't think Jahdae makes a lot of sense there. The only other corner that I think will likely go in round 1 is Maxwell Hairston, but at 16, it just feels a little early for me. I also could see this being a guard. I definitely think Gray Zabel is in play here. And I'm going to change up my notes a little bit. I'm going to go with Gray Zabel here. I think that there's a real chance that the Cardinals go offensive line. They could go with a guard here. I believe they got Evan Brown currently slotted at one of the guard spots. Definitely a spot that they could look to upgrade. I really like the way the board fell for them. But I think offensive line is a huge need for them. They really improved the defense. I like corner better on day 2 for them. So I'm going to go with Gray Zabel at 16. At pick 17 here, we got the Cincinnati Bengals. They're apparently really linked to Mike Green out of Marshall. That's going to be the pick I make. I think he is the second best pass rusher in this class opposite of Abdul Carter. This team needs instant production off the edge. They can't afford to take an upside swing with a guy like Mykel Williams or Shamar Stewart, even though they're off the board. Mike Green, to me, gives you instant impact ability off the edge. He's going to be able to create pressure, but I also think he's a guy that is going to be able to really impact the game in terms of a run defense standpoint. He's a much improved run defender. So I'm going to go with Mike Green here at pick 17, which leaves us with the Seahawks at pick 18. Gray Zabel was originally who I had them going with. He's off the board now, and I think if you look tackle, I don't think Simmons, Connerly, Jackson's the guy that I'm looking at potentially. This team needs a guard pretty desperately. They need interior offensive line help. I just think it's a little early to go with any of these guys. So I think there's going to be some trade talks here. And I am going to have, this is an interesting one. I think Kenneth Grant here could be a potential sleeper one. Get a guy that can be a run-stuffing nose tackle opposite of Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. I think it's really in play here. I think there could be a trade down, though. I think there's going to be a team that wants to move up in this defensive interior class because you got guys like Derek Harmon and Walter Nolan still on the board. And I think you could definitely see a team like Pittsburgh going that way. The Falcons going that way. So I'm going to have a slight trade down here. It's the Green Bay Packers moving up. I'm going to have them give up pick 87 and pick 23 to move up 5 spots in this draft. And they are going to select Derek Harmon out of Oregon, a pass rushing monster from the inside. I don't love really what they have going on up front. I know they've got Devontae Wyatt, but he hasn't really panned out for them. And I believe that Kenny Clark is on the last year of his deal. So in this exercise, I think Harmon is going to be the player that I target for them. He can get after the quarterback at a really high level, but he's also a guy that has some former nose tackle experience, and I really loved what he showed in that phase. So I'm going to go with Derek Harmon at pick 18. At pick 19, I think Jahad Campbell's in play here, but I'm going to go Jahdae Barron for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he's going to go higher than people think. I think 19 is probably the floor for him. I think teams are just really going to love his versatility. Started at safety, played in the nickel some, played on the boundary. He gives you so many options on ways that you can utilize him in your offense or in your defense. And with Jamel Dean's future uncertainty, I think Barron can be that player for you. So I'm going to go with Barron. I like him better on the boundary here. They got Tyke Smith. I think you can move him back to safety. They've got options. I'm going to take Barron at 19. At pick 20, the Cowboys ended up trading down. Running back is still here. I'd feel a lot better about taking Omarion Hampton at pick 26, but I am going to go with Matthew Golden at pick 20. Keep the Texas kid in Texas. He's been linked to them forever, it seems like at this point. I really love the fit for him opposite of CeeDee Lamb. The way he worked that intermediate area of the field, he's a really impressive receiver. I think he's a perfect fit. I'm going to go with Golden at 20, and he's going to be a really good piece for this team. At pick 21, I do think there is a chance that Pittsburgh passes on Shedeur Sanders. I really do think it's a possibility, but I'm not going to be the one to do that. I think if he's on the board, Shedeur Sanders will be the pick for the Steelers. He's exactly what they want in a quarterback. He's not the highest upside guy, but he gives you a really safe floor. He's accurate. You've got the receivers, and you got an offensive line that I feel pretty good about. He's got a really good supporting cast there. I'm going to go with Sanders at 21. I think Mike Tomlin loves him, and this is the perfect landing spot for the Sanders family to end up. At number 22, we got the Atlanta Falcons, who traded back, and I think they're looking at this, and they're feeling pretty good because they can go out and get a pass rusher. That player that I'm going to take for them is going to be Donovan Ezeraku. I think he is another guy. This team needs instant impact off the edge. Ezeraku allows them to do that. He can win in a variety of different ways with different swipes and spins, and I think he gives you the highest floor of any of the pass rushers left on the board. I think that's exactly what this team is looking for. So I'm going to go with Ezeraku at 22. At pick 23, again, the board's not awesome for Seattle. It really isn't. I think they could be in the cornerback market. I think Maxwell Hairston is in play for them, but with the way the board fell, I'm going to pass on offensive line. We added an extra pick later. I'm going to go Malachi Starks for them. I think this team wants to improve the safety room. We have seen time and time again just how well this Mike McDonald defense runs, when he's got multiple safeties. Malachi Starks is the most versatile defensive back in this class. He can play in the slot. He can play single high. He's really versatile, really fast, at least I think, for the position. And he defends the run really well. I'm making this move. I think Malachi Starks is going to be the player. And I'm going to make this pick here for the Seahawks. At pick 24 for the Vikings. Sorry, Vikings fans. I am going to have you guys trade down a bunch of teams that I think could be in play here. I think you could see a team come up for Walter Nolan. I think you could see a team come up for Maxwell Hairston because it seems like the league really likes him. I think you could see a team come up for Omarion Hampton. I do think that is a realistic possibility if he's on the board. For this exercise, though, I am going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars move up from 36. They're going to give pick 88 back and get pick 24. So they are going to give up a later third. They're going to give up 36 to move back into the first round. Remember, we had them take Ashton Genty earlier. I'm going to have them move up and get Walter Nolan. Nolan, to me, is the exact type of defensive lineman that this team needs. Really good run defender, a safe floor there with the upside to develop into one of the better pass rushers in the league. I know they got Mason Smith, but this is not a guy this is not a regime that drafted Mason Smith last year. This is a different regime. I think they are going to be really in on Walter Nolan. Seems like he's going to start slipping down draft boards. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but for this, I'm going to have them take Walter Nolan. At pick 25, we got the Houston Texans. Again, I could see this being a potential trade down spot. I think there's some really interesting moves that this team could make. They traded out of the first round last year. I do think I'm going to have them trade down and do something I didn't initially do in my notes. And the team that is going to be moving up in this is going to be the New Orleans Saints. I talked about it earlier. They've got a bunch of picks here. I'm going to have them give up 40 and 93 to move up to 25. I'll have them give up a future fifth rounder as well. They're going to move up in this class. And you're probably thinking, what are they going to do? Well, they got Will Campbell. And now I think they go with Jackson Dart. I think he probably goes in the first round somewhere. I think it's more than likely going to be in the back half of the first round. I think the Saints are the perfect landing spot. He's exactly the type of quarterback that Kellen Moore has worked with and thrived with in the past. So I'm going to have them move up for Dart, and he's going to go to New Orleans at pick 25. And then at pick 26, I think that the Rams are going to stumble in to Jahad Campbell because of the labrum injury. A perfect landing spot for him where he could be the commander of this defense right away. He is a top 10 player on my board. Unfortunately, due to injuries, I just think he's going to slip down boards a little bit. But he is a phenomenal player in coverage as a downhill blitzing threat. He does so many different things from the linebacker position that I absolutely love. So I'm going to have them go Jahad Campbell at pick 26. At number 27, we've got the Baltimore Ravens on the clock. Malachi Starks is who I initially went with in my notes. Doesn't look like he's not on the board anymore. I think they could be in the edge market. James Pierce, to me, I could see this being a landing spot for him. The other option, I guess, would be a wide receiver. I think Emeka Egbuka makes a lot of sense for them. But I am going to go with James Pierce. I think he's the type of pass rusher that this team is looking for. He gives them a little bit more speed off the edge. I just love his fit in this Ravens defense. I think he's an exact complement to what they are looking for. At number 28, I got the Detroit Lions. I think they could be, again, in the Egbuka market. I'm going to have a trade down, though. Another trade down in the back half of the draft. I'm going to have a team move up here, go get Maxwell Hairston. The question is going to be which team. I don't really know what the market would look like here, but I think a team like the Raiders could come up. I have them give up 37, 108, and 180 to move up to 28. Then we're going to force this trade through, and I'm going to have them move up and get Maxwell Hairston. It seems like the league really likes him. He's a really good athlete, and I think Washington could take him, Buffalo could take him, Philly could take him. If you want to go get one of the top corners in this class, I think that they're going to have to move up, and I think Hairston to Vegas makes a lot of sense. At number 29, we've got the Washington Commanders. With the way the board fell, I'm going to go on Marion Hampton. I think he goes in the first round and probably higher than this. It's really hard to find a landing spot, but I think Washington makes a lot of sense. They want to run the football with Jaden Daniels, but he gives them a little bit more power. I think he's an upgrade over Brian Robinson, so he'll be my pick there. At 30, I think it's going to be Kenneth Grant. The Bills need a run stuffer in the middle of their defense, and I think Kenneth Grant is an immediate impact player for them. A guy that can get after the quarterback a little bit, but I think he is just a phenomenal run stuffer right out the gate. I'll take him at 30. At 31, I'm going to have the Kansas City Chiefs take Josh Simmons. I wouldn't be shocked if he slipped out of the first round due to the injury, but in this situation, he is still on the board. I'm going to take him because I think he is a very good player and would be my number one tackle. Chiefs need offensive line. And to finish out the draft, I'm going to have the Philadelphia Eagles go with Mason Taylor out of LSU. They've got some question marks on Dallas Goedert, if he's going to come back or not. Doesn't look like it. So I think they can go with the tight end, and Mason Taylor is a player that I really like as a fit for this team. But that's it, guys. That is the final mock draft of the 2025 NFL Draft. Stay tuned. We'll probably have a day 2 mock draft coming on Thursday night. Stay tuned for that one. Leave a like, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.